fucked up. And I remember my cousin, he was talking about one of his uncles or cousins. His version of bucking up was pulling out a gun on his mother because she didn't have that respect. Yes, she didn't have that respect. She didn't get him together at that young age. So then when he got up there, he was like, "What? What you gonna do?" And I think it is. So for me, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this topic is things are different in the way that, I've worked in CPS court for 9 years. I saw child abuse cases that came in. I had one in particular with a good dad, and he spanked the kid. He got ready to threaten to spank the kid or something, and the kid chipped his tooth because he was trying to get away. But when the dad was out of the home, the kid goes buck wild. But just knowing that his dad was there, and he had the same kind of parenting style my dad did. And I would spank your butt. My dad he would get you. And I was the stubborn one, y'all. I was the one that was like, I ain't gonna cry. I was 2 years old getting my little paper smacked. I ain't gonna cry because you don't let the enemy see you down. My mom be like, please just cry so he kill you. Please just cry. Just stop the tears so he can stop. You gonna die. But at the same time, my dad would be like, okay, I thank you. Then I'm gonna give you an hour-long lecture. And I'm going to tell you what you did wrong, why not to do it, what the consequences are. There was more punishment than the spanking. And then he will hug us and tell us he loved us after. But I think you have to do things totally differently when you have a black child because they're going to have to go out into the street.
I think so too. But I think that, like you said earlier, Dr. Watkins, that there has to be a balance. Like, for example, when I was growing up, my mother did whoop us, right? But she used whoopings for special moments that stood out in my head. I can probably remember every time I've been whooped. But for example, if I was doing something that I wasn't supposed to do, sometimes you get them black parents who just want to whoop a kid for everything. And my mother, I'll never forget the time she whooped me because I was playing with a lighter and I set a rug on fire in my room. And then I patted it out like, oh shit. And she come in the room like, what are you in here burning? And it's a big ass hole in the rug that's on the floor. And I'm like, oh, nothing. But my mother whooped my ass that day. And I will never forget that whooping because after the ass whooping, she talked to me about why she whooped me. And the thing was, she wanted me to understand, you can't be in here playing with fire because you could have burnt down this house and killed yourself, killed all of us. And this is not a damn game. So she wanted me to understand why she was upset. And after that, I was like, oh, I ain't playing no goddamn. I mean, it worked, right? But my mama also with that whooping, she didn't beat me like she had lost her damn mind because I see too many people do that as well, right? I have family members who, I want to say this, that I have watched them. I've been at their house and I would get into it with them because I would be in the other room and the kid would get in trouble and they 12, they 13, and they whooping them and I hear the kid crying. And after a while, them 5 lashes turn into 10, and then it's 20. And I'm thinking to myself, how many fucking times are you going to hit this child? And then it reminds me of, I guess I want to say, this is what I want to say. I think the discipline, even like, physical punishment, whether it's, hitting a kid, whooping them on their butt or something like that. Like, I'm sure that we in all, cultures do those kind of things. But I've also had to ask myself as I've gotten older, why don't we take a belt for the most part, which is a leather strap, and beat the shit out of our kids? Like, not just on their butt, on their legs, on their back, on their arm, on everywhere. It kind of reminds me of slavery, right? And I wonder if we, because we were disciplined in getting our ass beat with a whip, we were basically being beat, right? But with a belt, if that's what you want to call it. So we were being beat with that. So when we left slavery from the plantation, we kind of didn't know no better. So I wonder if that has been something that has been handed down to us, that we feel this need to get this strap and beat the shit out of our kids. And it has evolved from beating your kids with a strap to beating them with a shoe, with the broom, the dustpan, the remote control, anything you can find around you. We make them little jokes. But my thing is too, if you were going to whoop a kid the right way. Give them a couple of licks to make the shit sting. You don't beat the shit out your kids, and you damn sure don't beat them like they a slave. I can't, I've never gotten down with that. I've never understood that, because even when I got a good ass whooping, my mama might have hit me like 6, 7 times. But let me tell you something. There was some hard hits. After the third one, it was thinking about a 7th one. I was sorry as hell, but it didn't take beating me 20 lashes. Like, this is not slavery. And for me, I just can't help to equate that when I see Black parents who can't find the balance in that. Find the balance. There has to be a balance. You cannot beat the shit out of your kids. And to me, a beating is much different than a whooping. Give your kid a whooping. Stop beating the shit out of your kids, Black people. That's what I want to say, because it will. Also, you have to understand that psychologically, if you beat the shit out of a kid too much, it's not going to actually make them be good. It's going to instill insecurities in them, hidden hostility, and it will actually go against the very thing you are trying to create in your child, because you have a fine line sometimes in some of these households that go from whooping your kids to being abusive. And if your child feels that they've been abused all their life, because no matter what I do, you can't just talk to me, you can't tell me why I was wrong, you can't give me an alternative around it, you always want to pull out a belt or a shoe or something. Or like some parents, like you said, I've heard parents say, I choke their ass, I slap their ass, I punch their ass. I don't fight my kids like they people in the streets. I never put my hands on my kid in a way that I would put my hands on somebody in the streets. And I see too many parents do that out of their frustration. And that's, I guess, where it bothers me in crossing that line. And I just want, but I'm not saying all Black people do this, but we're not going to act like this is not a part of our culture, right? You know, kids get their ass up all the time, and a mama quick, slap the fuck out of you, stop fucking playing with me, I'll beat your ass. Like, we got to stop taking it to that extreme, because that is not helping our kids. If you don't find balance, it's actually hurting them. And I guess that's kind of where I draw. I'm gonna whoop my kids, but it's gonna be for something serious. Like I said, I could have killed everybody when I set that carpet on fire, so I understood that was serious. But because my mama didn't whoop me often, let me tell you, that whooping worked. So when you save those times, there has to be variations, right? Like, you don't whoop a kid with a belt because they conditioned to sink and they didn't mop this floor. You just go in their room at like 1 o'clock in the morning, or you wake them up an hour early before school start, like, oh, you thought you got a bang? I know it's 3 in the morning, get your ass up, come out this kitchen floor, come watch this one more play. You thought I was playing, and you can go back to bed, right? There's other ways you can do that. Everybody always wants to just be like, and not everybody, but for the ones who like, I'm just whoop you for everything. I just need Black folks to stop that, because somewhere I believe you got that mentality from a white slave master that was passed down from generation to generation. So.
So one of the things that, for you all who are just tuning in, you're watching Dr. Boyce Watkins, attorney Nicole Compton, and Michi Kochek, Michelle Kochek, aka Michi X. And so thank you for tuning in. Make sure, if you have not already clicked down below and subscribe, make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell next to it so that you get the notifications when we go live. Because we will always bring you truth. We will always bring you something that's going to educate and possibly entertain you. And so the other thing that you can do is type Queen, Queens, with the S, at 31996. If somebody's on their computer, on your phone, type it out for me if you would. Text the word Queen to 31996, so that way you never miss when we go live. You'll have the opportunity to hop on and see what we have going on. So tonight we're talking about parenting while Black. You know, the unwritten, the unspoken chapter rules of parenting. One of the reasons I thought about the topic like this is we were talking the other night about how to protect your young Black women and men when they are in public and they have to deal with officers and things like that. And one of the stories that I gave was the fact that my son and his best friend, who was white, I would take them to the store with me. I was a helicopter parent. If I'm not outside, you're not outside. If you're going to the mall, guess what? I need to go to Victoria's Secret. I'm going to. And so I would take them to the store, and I would tell my son, get your hands out your pockets. Don't carry your backpacks in the store. Make sure you don't do this, don't do that, do this, and do that. Because I did not want, and this is pre-Trayvon Martin. And I tell them, this is what I need you to do, because I want you to come home safe and alive. And there's going to be a time when I'm not going to be able to be the helicopter parent and be there with you all the time. My son, even in his young infinite wisdom, tells me that, Mom, you're a racist. Because you'll say that to me, but you didn't say that to my best friend. Thank you, Tiana. And so he's like, why do you tell me to not do this, but you don't tell Kenny Joe? And I had to explain to him, Baby Kimmy Joe, who was white, could go in and he could rob this whole place. He could put everything in his backpack. He could just walk out with it in his hand. They're not going to flinch. But if you have your hand in your pocket for 2 seconds or just to rest your hands while you're walking, they're going to be following you throughout this store. I've seen them tackle young black guys and tell them you got to come to the back and you stole something and all of that. And I want to see you be okay, and I want to see you get out of this alive. So, as a black parent, the way that we raise our kids, even not talking about just discipline, but just life, period, has to be different for those situations. So what are some of the things that you all tell your kids? Or, I know I can talk forever on it, but what are some of the things you all tell your kids when they go out? Or that the kids that mentor? Because Nikki, I know you talk about you always have kids over your house. Your kids' friends are always over your house. Dr. Watkins, I know that you've taken many a kid that wasn't about a lot of people of yours under your wing, and kind of, push them in the right direction. What should we, or what are we telling our black children nowadays for when they are out?
Go ahead, Michi. Sorry about that.
First, I wanted to say something on the comments. Somebody said something about getting whoopings just taught them to be a liar because telling the truth equated a whooping. I just wanted to throw out there that in my house, my promise to my children are as long as you tell me the truth. I can't promise you that I'm not going to punish you for what you did, but I will not ever whoop you for being honest with you. So my children know that they're not going to get a whooping. And that truth, that don't mean you getting out. We'll find some other way of discipline. But you're right, because I don't want my kids to ever feel they have to lie. And I would lie. I used to lie and I want to get an ass whooping too. So that's my motto. Like, if you lie to me, then you might get a whooping depending on what you did, But at the end of the day, if my kids are honest with me, that is my promise to them. I never whoop my kids for telling me the truth. We just deal with the truth. So that leads into the question that you asked me, Nicole. And I'm going to bring you back to this. I communicate with my children, like, all the time. When my kids' friends are over here, I bust up in their room real quick, and what y'all in here doing? I mean, they be in there putting on makeup, doing whatever, kids hanging out. And you know what? For they know it, they in the middle of a life sermon and some shit. And my kids be looking like, Mom, but her friends enjoy it. Because I get to talk to them about situations. I ask them, what's going on in school? What's happening? And they'll tell me, well, this girl did that. And guess what happened to this? They tell me all the stuff going on with these young kids because they trust that I'm going to give them advice. But we also have to be mindful of when we were our children's age as well, right? I remember when I was a kid. So I'll be honest, I share my experiences. And I say, well, when I didn't listen, let me tell you what happened to me. This can happen to you. Like my daughter, she goes out a lot in where we are in Aurora, Colorado. Quite a few girls have gone missing in this area that have been snatched, black girls about her age, we believe have been taken into sex trafficking. One of them we saw around like on a street here called Colfax. They've got sightings of her. So guys in the community have been going and looking for her, but she's not here anymore. It's been 2 years. Her daughter left one day and she's never seen her again. Then another girl went missing. So my thing is that every time my daughter leaves this house, I remind her, girls are going missing. Nobody is playing this game around here. So I don't want you to walk alone. I let my kids, I build trust with my children so that they will talk to me. My children know this. I don't care if you are somewhere you're not supposed to be. If you sneak out this house, which would be a dumbass thing, because I'm thinking you're asleep. If something happens to you, I don't even know where to look for you. Like, I just be real with my children. If you find yourself in a situation you're not supposed to be in, I want you to call me. I don't give a fuck what you're doing. If you've done anything wrong, we will work through that later. We will work it out. But you call me. I will come and get you, and we will deal with that later. Know that I will always be there for you no matter what situation, because you being alive and well matters to me. If you don't call me, you can end up dead. Snuck out the house. I get real with my children, and I talk to them about shit that happens before it happens. We take cues from other people's kids. We take cues from shit that happened on TV, and and I let my children know, even as far as being black in this country, I tell them all the time. When they go out, I remind them, you're black teenagers, y'all out hanging out. I'm glad y'all going to the mall. Y'all going to do your thing and you're hanging out as young kids. But I want to remind you of who you are in this country. So that means you need to be more careful, avoid the police, do not be in certain situations. So I'm always, I would say that the key for me is I constantly communicate with my children and give them an understanding of who they are, how they're perceived in this country, the things that could possibly happen to them, right? And then when they do things right? I find that balance, and I really tell them how much I love them and I trust them. And see, you did that. You know, now I know I can trust you. I'm proud of you. You know what I'm saying? So I find that balance. And when they do something right, I really let them know that I am proud of the fact that they listen to me. I'm like, you heard me, right? And my kids know they can talk to me about anything. So I would say that communication is the key. You can't beat knowledge into a child. You can't beat it into them. At some point, you have to give them the knowledge and make sure that they are in a position to receive it when you give it to them. And that usually has to be a loving position, right? So that's what I do in speaking to my kids about all the different things that I think they need to know. Because, you know, I have one that's 9, but other than that, all my kids is like teenagers. I got 13-year-old, got 15-year-old, I got 16-year-old, right? And in November, she'll be 16, and in 30 days, then she turns 17. For like 1 month of the year, I got stair steps. They all teenagers, right? So, you know, and that's how I tend to deal with all of them. And I feel that I trust my kids. I've had my kids come home and be like, Ma, I have to tell you something I did because I'm disappointed in myself. Like, my kids will tell on themselves. You know, you told me not to do that. I didn't listen to you. I did the shit, and exactly what you said happened, whether it be how to deal with friends or whatever. I talk to my kids about every goddamn thing, and I be real with them. I don't sugarcoat shit. You know why? Because if I tell them some false-ass perception about this world, then the world, they're not going to be ready for what the fuck is coming for them. And if some shit happens to them in this world, and they're going to be like, Mom, I didn't know nothing about that. You didn't prepare me for that. So I be real with my kids, right? I let them find out about the real deal about life from me before life come and get their ass and they have to find out the hard way. So I'm very real with my children, right? You can't hide them from the shit social media and everything. You can't hide your kids from nothing these days. So you need to just make sure they have an understanding and walk through that shit. Don't act like you don't see it. Too many parents do that too. Communicate with your children. That's what I would say.
Well, I know that one of the things you hit on was honesty. I was that kid. I got spankings. The spankings didn't work. But the biggest rule with me raising my 3-year-old grandson and my 23-year-old son when he was in my house was the worst thing that you could ever do to me is lie. Period. You can, like you said, Nikki, we can work through a whole lot of stuff. It doesn't mean you will not get punished. It just means it's going to mitigate your punishment. It's going to be much less than what it could be. Because if you lie to me, you're insulting my justice. And now I don't know how to help you if I needed to help you. There was a comment in the question in the comments about how I felt about Black men and mentoring kids in single women households. And so I think what the question is trying to ask is, you know, do I feel like it's okay for men to stand up in the Black community to come in and mentor and discipline kids in a household that they're not in where there is no man? He said that, it says the Black leaders say that we should step up, that we should help, but some single moms prevent this. I'll tell you this, I'm jaded. I'm all the way to 150,000,000% jaded because I worked in the child abuse courts for 9 years. I saw the worst of the worst. It's not just guys that diddle kids. It's women, it's other kids and all of that. And it's also when you have somebody who mentors or who disciplines and they're doing it, they may be doing it for the right reason, but if they're not doing it out of love, then it's a problem. If you have the mother's consent or you're invested in that thing, then I think it makes it a little bit differently. But then as an attorney, I'm also going to say, CYA, cover your ass when you do it, because let you do something wrong, it's still not your kid, you're still an outsider, and then you bring other legal issues. I say that, but then also think about, I grew up in a different day. I think we need that now. I think we're lacking that now, but because this world has become so corrupt and things that are happening in our community are so corrupt that it's not always the best idea to do. It's a great idea, but seeing it through doesn't always happen like it. I grew up in a household where, like I said, my parents have been married. Next week, a week from now, it'll be 41 years that they've been married. There's 8 of us. We were like in Turkey. And my dad was such a good guy, and my mom, that they would help people who were single family households. My friends who didn't have dads, whose mom worked all the time or whatever trying to provide, my dad would put them in with us and they would get to do stuff for our family. You know, even if it was down to we want to get new church clothes after church. You want to come along? My dad's going to buy church clothes for everybody. And he did. I think that made a difference in so many of my friends' lives. But as an attorney and seeing what I've seen and seeing the worst of the worst situations, sometimes I cringe when I think about that. I do like seeing it in situations where, you know, I was reading, I know there's a program in TJ in Louisville, Kentucky. I've seen a program, I think that...
Wait, what is TJ?
Oh, TJ is a middle school. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Remember that most of the people here are not from Louisville, so just...
But what I was saying is that so the school has a program, and there's another program that was like in New Orleans that I just read about, where the guys actually come. They come, they greet the kids on the way into school. They buy them suits and ties or ties and shirts and teach them how to tie and how to do bow ties and things like that. Now, in those kind of settings where the mentorship is there and it's not necessarily, I'm just going to so-and-so across the school don't have a daddy in the house, I'm going to be the daddy to the kids. You might not want to do that. But the programs like the one at this particular middle school and the programs that I've read where they have the black guys who come into the school that maybe pray over the school before the kids get there. They come and teach the kids life skills and things like that. I'm 110% for that. I just think in this day and age, when you're dealing with people's kids, and it's sad to say, you got to be very careful on how you step up, when you step up, and what you do.
Yeah, I think that when you talk about, you know, a man stepping into a space, I have real life experience with this. I was, you know, raised to believe, because my father that took care of me was not my biological father. So I was always raised to believe that if you date a woman with children, that while you're there, those children are your children. You have to do what their fathers did not do. So I ran into a lot of scenarios where the father was not doing whatever he was supposed to do for whatever reason, which is a problem we have to deal with in our communities. You know, it's okay if your relationship doesn't work out, but just the idea that we allow this to happen and we don't, you know, treat it like the tragedy it is. This is worse than, you know, you could almost compare this to to assault or any other type of crime committed against a person. You know, when you choose not to do what you're supposed to do as their parent, it's not something. So if you're not doing it, you probably have a brother or uncle, cousin who's doing it, and they can't be led to feel like that's okay. You know, I was, you know, led to believe that, you know, even growing up, that a man could take care of the kids if he wanted to, or not take care of the kids if he didn't want to, if you don't want to be bothered. That was kind of the way it was laid out when it came to my daughter. And here's the thing, even with my own daughter, even her mother kind of gave me that approach. Even her mother was like, well, you know, she don't really need you. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, no, she needs a daddy, you know? Yeah. It was very awkward, you know, because I think we're so used to that. We're used to walking with one leg, you know, so you give us two legs, we don't know what to do with that shit. We like, no, I'm just used to being like a one-legged person, you know, one-legged families. That's what we're used to, right? So I think that, you know, first of all, we know that the best mentor for that child, the best male mentor is their father, right? And every child has a father, and that question should be asked, like, well, where is your daddy at? Why is your dad? Is he dead? Is he disabled? You know, like brain damage in a coma? Like, if that shit ain't true, then we need an explanation for this. You know, there must be that. So I think starting there and having that conversation is really, really important for Black people. Like, that's something I would love to, like, even talk about when we're at the All Black National Convention. Like, we got to make a vow about this shit. Like, we're not gonna allow this idea of people just making babies and disappearing. But also, we know the responsibilities on everybody, right? You know, who are you making babies with? Who are you sleeping with? Who are you sharing your body with? You got to process all of that when you're talking about making kids. Not judging, but all this connects, because ultimately the children are the ones who pay the price for the bad decisions that we make as adults. So they always do. You know, and everybody's guilty of making some decision that's not right. But I do think once you get to that point where you're like, okay, what do we get this child? How do we get them the help that they need? I think that outside male mentorship is a risky thing for the reasons you mentioned, right? The legal liability, the fact that a lot of kids get molested by men who are not in the family. It might be the friend of the family, the mentor at church, the pastor, some shit, or the mother's boyfriend, You know,
That
like
way.
all the time. I knew a cop who worked cases like that. When cops do child abuse, the child abuse division, they don't let them do it for more than a couple of years because what they see is so horrendous that they're like, we got to rotate you out and get you therapy because it fucks their head up so much. Like the stuff that they see. And every cop I know who's done that beat says that it's textbook. He says, I see it all the time. The mother has a boyfriend. She's in love with the man. She has no idea that when she goes to work, that this man is abusing her daughter or her son or both, right? And I had a cousin who died that way actually, who was murdered by her mother's boyfriend when she was 2. You know, so we got to be careful with that, right? But I think that there are ways to incorporate it in a way that's safe. Like number one, teaching your children to speak up in the event that somebody ever does anything inappropriate with them. Make sure they're old enough to speak up, and then training them, making sure that they're confident enough, and you know that they're going to come back and tell you. But then, second of all, I think just supervised mentorship. You know, like okay, they go to the boys' club. There's 100 people there. The chances of somebody getting molested are very low, right? You got other people watching, or you're there maybe while it's all going down. But like when I was a track coach, when I was a youth track coach, pretty much the majority of the children on the track team did not have a father around. So a lot of the children gravitated toward me as a father figure. I got a lot of different reactions. I saw scenarios where the mothers were too trusting, where I was thinking, wow, you really shouldn't do this. I was thinking this to myself, like, if I was an R. Kelly, I could have been there, had your child if I was that type of person. And I told my mother like that. I said, you can't do that. Don't be letting any guy around your child. And then I would run into situations where maybe the mothers would become attracted to me because for them it's like, oh my God, here's a black man who takes an interest in my child. And I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I want to teach your child how to run. I'm not trying to run around here and do all this extra stuff. Or you would have the smartest mothers. The smartest mothers to me were the ones who said, yeah, my child likes you. I want them around you, but I'm going to be there. Like when you got my child running extra laps, I'm going to be up in the bleachers watching. And I think that is the wisest way. Like you got to always supervise because unfortunately abuse is something you can't come back from sometimes. Like once it happens, you can't go back in time and fix it. So you got to protect your child. But I do think that we need that. Like we need fathers, men to step up and just at least be available. Maybe you could be a parent to that child, once a month or for a few minutes at a time. Like little pieces of fatherhood can be beneficial too. Like football coaches do that a lot with young boys. Like they give them that first experience where they get a chance to be around other men and just learning little things about manhood that they might not learn at home. So I think that it can work, but you do have to be careful. I also think the last piece I'll throw in there is that last dynamic where you have a man from the outside that comes into the household because the mother and has formed a relationship with this man. Understand this: the mother has all the power when it comes to the kids. The mother is the ultimate authority, first teacher. That's the one the child pays attention to. He can grow up and become a serial killer. He's always going to love his mama, right? So if the mother allows a favorable interaction or facilitates that, then there will be a favorable interaction. If the mother says, I respect this man, listen to him, then the child's going to listen. But if the mother's talking shit, being disrespectful, whatever, well, even if that's the child's biological father, the child's going to be like, well, my mama talks shit about him, so he must not be shit, so I ain't got to respect him either. Children follow the lead of their mother, right? So what I have found is that if you bring a man into your house and you got children, I can't speak for every man, but I know for a fact, like the lovely woman that I'm going to marry one day, who y'all probably saw in the background, she got 3 kids. When I decided to pursue the relationship, the first thing I checked on was, what kind of kids do you have? Are they little badass kids? And if they are little badass kids, I can probably deal with that, but I need you to give me the authority to do that. Because if you do not give me the respect and authority to have some say in how this household's run, I don't want to be here. That's taxation without representation. Because you being asked to help pay all the bills, but you ain't got no authority. And the worst nightmare in the world for a lot of men, I think, a man who's really trying to do the right thing, right, is a scenario where you got this fucked up teenage boy who's giving you all kinds of shit, like the movie Baby Boy. The movie Baby boy set it all up. Y'all want to understand the dynamic between two men occupying the same space? Go analyze the movie Baby Boy. So you got this little teenage kid who for years been thinking he the man of the house. Now he got another man walking around in his drawers drinking up all the Kool-Aid, and he's feeling some kind of way. He's bucking up on him, and the worst thing in the world is to have a mother who's like, don't you discipline my baby. You do not discipline my children. Because what's going to eventually happen is just like in the movie. One of those two guys is going to leave. One of those men is going to have to go. You know, and if he don't go, then the man will be like, you know what? I'll see you later. I'll come visit whenever you want. If you need a maintenance man or something, maybe I can do that. But I'm not going to be in this household because you created a highly unnatural, confrontational environment. So there you go. That's the for real on bringing a man into the life of your child. And I'm done talking. I'm going to be quiet now.
I want to say something about that perspective. I want to say something about two comments first. I think it was Royal Brown back. He said that his mama beat knowledge into him because one time he called her friend about her first name and she slapped the mess out of him and told him you don't do that, and he's never called the elder by their first name again. What I want to point out is this. When you called the woman out her name, did you do it out of spite? Was you trying to be bad, or did you not know? Did your mom really have to slap you, or could she just have said, you don't call older people by their first name, honey? You need to call them, put a miss or a mister in front of it, and that's what you do when you could. Could she have done that? Right? Now, had she told you that and you kept being disrespectful, I could see the pop. But see, that's the thing right there that I am explaining is that, was that really necessary to hit your kid? Or could she have just said to you, don't do that? Because the question is, was you doing it to be spiteful? Working, Mr. Tommy. But I think what I read, and that them 5 lines ran together, is you said something about badass kids, and before they kill you, you gonna kill them. I need us to stop that, because if we're talking about you're a man, now, if you're a white man, because I don't see the picture, but if you're a black man, then we need to have this conversation of that's part of the problem, that when men take that approach, all of our kids are not badass kids. Do you have a little bit of white supremacy syndrome in your dome that makes you be biased against your own people, that make you think that, and then you said, if they're trying to kill me first, I'm going to kill them. We talk about disciplining and loving kids, and you automatically go to killing kids because they out there killing. Stop letting social media, white supremacy, and all of that shit, this white media, portray black kids in that manner. They don't allow black kids to be seen like kids, and apparently you don't see them as innocent kids, because black boys, just because they got their pants sagging, that automatically means they're a killer, they told a gun, they ain't got no respect, they don't love their mamas. That's not true. Some of them sag their pants, they still take out the trash, they wash dishes, they respect their mom, they do all that shit, they straight their students. So let's get away from that first and foremost. But when you talk about, you know, it being a village, you know, Dr. Watkins was talking about like a boyfriend or somebody from the outside. I would like to see our communities be a village in the sense that maybe I'm not your damn boyfriend, and it's a man that maybe got his own kids and his own wife, but at the end of the day, maybe he gets together with the boys in the neighborhood, and whether you got a daddy or you don't got a daddy, they all come together and he take them to the park and they play ball, or, you know, they know they can come knock on his door and, you know, they can eat something if mama a little bit short. But let me tell you something too. The people do get kind of touchy about you talking about their kids or trying to discipline their kids. So I would tell people, when we talk about this village mentality, I want you to stop trying to check kids or go to kids. First, build rapport with the parent, right? Tell the parent, ask them what they need. What can you do for them? Let them know that you are genuine, right? When we talk about a village, you can't just be out there disciplining people's kids if you don't know, first of all your neighbors' names. If y'all are not willing to be there for one another, y'all have not learned to build that connection in the community. So sister such and such or brother such and such can call you up and be like, girl, your son is down here. Let me tell you what he's doing. You want me to bring him to you, or you coming to get him? Then they consider you a friend, and it's like, tell him I said get his ass home right now. And if he don't come, bring him, right? You have to build a rapport with the people in your community, and you have to learn to go to the parents first. You don't just outright discipline nobody's child. Build a relationship with the parent. Say, where can I help you? Where am I at? When they realize that you care, you're concerned, you say, hey, every day we all see about each other. We are all a community, not just a neighborhood. Guess what? They know you long before you ever discipline their kid. You understand what I'm saying? So when you try and check their kids, when we say discipline, I don't mean beating people's kids. I mean mentoring to them, talking to them, telling them this shit ain't right. Saying, look, get your ass in this car. I'm taking you to your mama right now. Guess what? If the mother knows that you are genuine and that you are a good person and you are part of her community, and she knows you and trusts you, she is not mad that you said to her kid, get your ass in the car. I'm taking you to your mama. Because guess what? That's not the first time she's dealt with you. She's dealt with you asking her, do she need a ride? Do she need that other $3 for her copay so that she can get her kid's prescription? You know, we realize your child doesn't have any shoes, and we don't even embarrass you and ask you what your situation is, sis. But you know what? We went together, and we want to know, can we take him and go buy him some shoes? Some stuff, right? Learn to love on them first and show that you are there for the right reasons. You want to invest in the community, and then people will not have a problem with that. Most parents who don't want you talking to their kids or discipline their kids is because they have no trust for the people in the community. They feel this world is going to fuck their kids over, white, black, or whatever. And we have to begin to change that scenario and let them know that that's not necessarily the case. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of them, I think, too, didn't really have other parents and elders there for them. So they don't even know what it's like. We have a lot of young people having children. And if they don't have the older people in their family there for them, they haven't even learned a thing of, you know, letting elders or other people be there for me. Nobody ever supported me and helped me as a parent. So why would I think that anybody would give a fuck about my kids? So start helping the parent. Go for the adult and understand who the adult is. Build the rapport with the adults. And then you will be able to build a rapport with their children, and they will trust you. But don't just come out your pocket and check nobody's kids you don't know. That does warrant to get your ass cussed out. Like, let's be real. Don't do that to somebody's kid that you don't know and you haven't built a rapport with them. Before you can check me, you gotta love me first, right? Because I'm not your child. I'm not related to you. So love our people first, and then checking them will come later. But you got to check people in love. Because if you don't, then I'm ready to fight you, right? So I think that's where the problem lies. So that's when we talk about men outside the home. Because I don't think it should just be boyfriends and men that you bring in the home to help raise your kids. And it should be about the men. Because the women should be able to be a part of that village as well, right? Maybe I cook dinner tonight and I'm feeding two neighbors' kids along with mine because their cabinets is empty, but when mine is empty, they got it. So you see what I'm saying? So it's about everybody, the men and the women. So that's my perspective of allowing men to step up in another.
I concur with what you said. I had texted in the chat that I was going to answer, but essentially you said it better than what I could even say it. Because my whole thing was, when it comes to mentoring the kids, you know, I wasn't even looking at it completely at that perspective. My suggestion was going to be mentor the parents on how to be a parent. Because we do have, you know, I had my kid young. Luckily, I had two friends that was like, this is kind of what you need to know, so I could have that bit of help. But when you end up with, it's not always just like, well, let me jump in and go mentor the kids. Sometimes the parents need the mentoring as well on this is how you can raise your kids without having to beat them, without having to scream, without having to hoop and holler. Somebody had said something about bad kids earlier, and I will say this is what my nanny says, and we've had this conversation over and over. There is no such thing as a bad kid. There are bad parents who did a bad job raising good kids, because all kids, when they're born, are genuinely good kids. And so when you end up with kids that are out there and they acting stupid and they disrespectful and all of that, it's because they got a bad model at home, or they have no model at home, and they got bad parents. So we can't say that all badass black kids. That's not true. That's not right. It's not, you know, that's not accurate. The other thing that I was going to say.
They don't up schools. I'm just saying.
What you said?
They don't shoot up schools is what I said. They can't be that.
This is true. The other thing is, and I've said this before, black women, we have to, and because that's who we're talking to tonight, stop thinking that every man that we date is going to be our kid's daddy. Now, this is your new daddy. This is your new daddy this week. I'm going to leave you alone with his daddy. Because I got family members that I can't preach that to. Because what you don't realize is, you think you know him because he laid a pipe good, he takes you out, he makes you feel nice. You don't know what spirits he's bringing in with him, what demons from his past, what his intentions really are. You don't even always know the only one that he's messing with just to keep sleeping in your bed every night. How about he goes out and he gets the house and brings you all to his house? But so many times I see girls that get to dating and then they run the man away because instantly I'm dating you, we kicking it, and then I move in and all of a sudden he's got the role of daddy when he ain't earned the role of daddy and he don't belong in the role of daddy. The other thing is, back to the mentoring, you know, my son grew up big brothers, big sisters. his dad, I always joke around. I say that he had two parents that were in the law. I went to law school. His daddy went to prison. He had two parents that were definitely in the law in the courtroom. And so before I got married and after I got divorced, my son didn't have a man in the household. He had me, a former teen mom who was trying to do the best that she could do. I signed him up for Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And the sad part about it, they didn't have any black men that were wanting to even mentor. Now, I know what you're going to say, Mickey. Half of them were in jail and hemmed up because of white supremacy, and I agree with that. But the ones who weren't, the ones who would go get some check, drive off in their Beamers and all of that, weren't looking back to try to help the kids. And so eventually one day I would like to see a model that's something like Big Brothers and Big Sisters. But there are a lot of kids out there who are even asking for the mentorship that we're talking about that we just don't get. And there's a right way to do it. Make your mama's boyfriend coming in now ain't this is not the right way to do it.
Yeah. I think that it's I mean, it's kind of a mess, right? And we know where the mess came from. I mean, the mess came from white supremacy and everything else. And I think it's but it's a mess that we have to clean up. And I don't, I mean, I think what we have to accept is that, that child's father is kind of one of the only two people that is going to feel like they have to be in the life of that child no matter what, and that's why I think it's really important, to just really try to find a way to at least learn a little bit more about how to choose the right relationships, how to maintain the relationships we have, make sure everything stays good even when it goes bad, like the conflict resolution, all of that. I think it's just extremely important because once that father's gone, like me, for example, my father was 15 when he got my mother pregnant and he wasn't in my life. I had a stepfather, but that ain't the same. I was lucky. I was really lucky because at least I had a man that paid the bill. Yeah, I had a great stepfather, but here's the thing, he wasn't my father. He did not look at me and see himself in me. There's a difference between a man who looks at you and sees himself. It's true all throughout the animal kingdom. There's a difference between a man who looks at you and sees himself in you and says you're half me versus another man who says I'm going to tolerate you because I'm with your mama. The threshold in terms of like what they'll put up with, the lengths they'll go for you can differ sometimes. My father, even though I was in the house with my stepfather, he still wanted to have a son. And in his mind, he had not had a son yet because he did not have a biological child. There was a boy, right? So, so the thing is, even though, I had a great stepfather, a stepfather is still not the same as a father. So I just think it's really important. Like, I don't know what to tell people in terms of how to pick and all that, but I know that there's books on how to choose the right relationships, how to take your time, how to get to know somebody and all of that. But that's what I kind of see. I see a lot of relationships where, I don't understand the dynamic exactly. Like sometimes I remember I mentored some young ladies where they got pregnant each of them got pregnant several times. There's two of them I'm thinking about. And the fathers would be gone before the baby was one. And it would happen repeatedly. And it made me sort of ask them, I said, like, so what's your procedure with these relationships? Like, what is it? What's happening here? What's the dynamic that's causing this to happen? I mean, it could be just unlucky, rolling the dice, it just ain't going right. But is there anything that can be done in terms of maybe vetting these dudes out? I don't know. I mean, but sex is a powerful thing. It's hard to tell somebody how to have sex or who the fuck. Like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not that person, right? But I do know that, like it seems to me like there are times where, people move very, very fast. And it's only got worse. Now we got Tinder and all that stuff. Now everybody, I mean, people are having sex with each other after knowing each other for less than a day. And I think that I don't want to sound old fashioned when I say this.
What was your name again?
Right. Like I didn't grow. I probably sound old fashioned, but like I never grew up in an environment where I could imagine experiencing something as important as powerful as sex with somebody, which is literally the creation of all human life. I cannot imagine experiencing something that powerful with somebody and not even knowing their name. Not even knowing not remembering who they were, of seeing somebody and saying, "Wait, I think we had sex, didn't we?" Like that kind of thing is strange to me. But you got people that do that, and it's a risky life. It's like, can you really be surprised if you have these crazy things happen in relationships and everything else, if you're moving that fast, in the process. But again, I'm always nervous to say that because I don't want to be judging people, and I don't want to sound like, just all old fashioned and stuff about it. Maybe I am. I guess I am. But something has to change.
Somebody's got to say it, though. Somebody's got to say it, Dr. Boy. You might not be the only person that's thinking it, and you didn't say it's right or wrong. What you said is, this is what I'm noticing. And somebody does have to say it. It's scary. I did a video on the amount of STDs and things like that are going on. But it transcends even further than just the STDs and all of that, that affect the Black community. You're dealing with so much more when you deal with, after somebody gets finished, you're like, what was your name again? Okay, so you said you live, you don't even live here. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, it's like on the woman's side, it seems like you have the standard bad things that can happen, like, the absentee father or the STD and all, or even the sexual assault, right? Now for the men, when I talk to them about it, I warn them, like, you live in the Me Too era too, and so you meet that girl and she looks really good and you can't control yourself because you saw a big butt and a smile, and that might put you in prison. Somebody could literally make, if they just make an accusation against you, you're kind of done. So I think it's kind of like whatever it takes for you. Maybe it's because people are not open enough in their sexual conversations. Like, I'm gonna tell you what, this is so funny, but I just keep it real in terms of when I was learning stuff as I was understanding sex. I saw Dr. Ruth. You remember Dr. Ruth, the little short lady, the little German lady who was a sex therapist? It was so funny. Like, I couldn't imagine anybody ever had sex with her. But she knew her shit, right? She really knew her shit. And one of the things I saw was there was a man that called and he said, Dr. Ruth, I'm 35 years old and sometimes I masturbate. Is that bad? And she said, no. She said, that's very good because it keeps you from making bad decisions and sleeping with somebody just because you're horny, And so there was literally like a young dude I was talking to a long, long time ago. And he was like, I really want to wait. I really don't want to have sex. Now I want to wait until I'm older and stuff like that. And I was like, well, he's like, I don't know what to do. It's too hard. I said, well, I'll tell you what Dr. Ruth told me, and it was such an awkward conversation. But it was like, well, if that's what's going to save your life and keep you from, having an illegitimate pregnancy. And years later, he got married. He didn't have his first child until he got married. And it seemed like whatever he did to kind of hold off a little bit worked out for him, So I think maybe people have to learn other ways to cope with that very natural energy. We're all built to be sexual creatures. Sexual attraction is a natural phenomenon. You look at you get a bunch of bumblebees together, it won't take long for bumblebees start fucking, right? And like like you get a bunch of orangutans, a bunch of kangaroos, like you're gonna have little baby kangaroos. It just happens. Human beings are the same way. So attraction, the things that we define to be bad and taboo and dirty and nasty, no, that's just God doing his work. That's Mother Nature acting out the process. You're supposed to reproduce. So these urges that you feel are natural. But I think that in the modern world that we live in, where the consequences are so high, I say whatever it takes for you to find a way to put that in a box so you don't put yourself in a bad situation, you do that, And that's just my truth, because I see a lot of dudes do that. A lot of guys like Drake, the rapper Drake. You talking about Drake the other day. Drake is suing that lady because she was running around saying he raped her and that he got her pregnant yeah, like you raw dogging a porn star, dude. Like the other girl he had the baby with was a porn star. Like, that's a death wish, dude. Like, porn stars have sex with thousands of people. Like, that's nasty. That's crazy, like, so I don't know. But again, I'm not judging nobody's decisions. I'm just saying we got to. There you go. You judge it. I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up because I'm just talking too much.
I just know learning the code content. Because if we gonna be out there like that, at least put some contracts around it. If you ain't gonna put a condom on it, that's all I'm gonna say.
Condoms and contracts.
Somebody made
Hey,
it.
that's what I'm saying.
Condoms and contracts will reduce the consequences and keep you from being a convict. How about that? Go ahead.
Right? Pull the condom out and email them the contract before you get it in. And let me email you this contract on this little legal app real quick. You know, but somebody made it.
I'll send her home. I'll just tell them, I'm gonna send here, here's your condom, here's your contract, sign here, initial here. I won't even look, I'll stand at the door. Go ahead.
You gonna look, you what you say, famous people get ready to go have sex, they need to have their lawyer knock on the hotel room door, sign this paperwork, then I'm leaving, I'll be outside if you need.
Yeah, just bring the lawyer in the room so he can be a witness.
Right, they can afford a big penthouse. Just go in the living room till it's done, right?
Yeah, exactly, or something. I mean, you know, like that's just not even. That don't even make no damn sense because you got all. He has so much to lose, and why you know, and you can lose everything from that. That just all it takes is one bad experience, one crazy person, one person with all kinds of diseases, you know, whatever it is. And I just don't. I don't think. I'm like, is it that bad? Like, do you really have to do it that bad? Like, you really can't find no. Like when I went to Syracuse University to teach, my father told me. My father kept it real. My daddy said, he said, don't you fuck nothing on that campus. Don't you fuck no women anywhere on that campus. No students, no professors, no nothing. Because you don't want to end up with no problems with HR, no problems with the university, no problems having sex, none of that. And my logic at the time was, okay, you know, I'm a man, you know, you're gonna feel some kind of way about whatever. But whatever it is, I was, you know, might be thinking I might do with this woman on campus. There's other women not on the campus that I could get with. Like they say, where they say you don't shit where you eat. You know, just basic simple rules. You know, and we don't teach that to our young people about the importance of how sexual discipline can literally make the difference between achieving your goals and not achieving your goals. That's for men and women. If you can't find a way to have that discipline.
I was almost a victim of that. Changed my life forever. And I used the condom. He just had other plans, but I can attest to that one.
Yeah.
You know, somebody made a really good point on here about this. First of all, I want to say, Brother Tommy, I know earlier I was talking about your little comment, but I see your little 5-liners with no spaces, bro. I hope you get your computer together real soon. I'm going to send you some energy so you can fix quick. But anyway, we love you. That wasn't no knock to you. So I seen your comments, so no, we love you too, brother. We're glad that you're tuning in. But one of the people made a comment about coons and music. You know, I called Kanye the coon the other day because of this dumbass song he got on the radio. Mm-hmm. But I think he's made a valid point that you said your father told you that, but a lot of our youth don't always have those fathers in the home, and when they do, they're not always, you know, presentable role models. Maybe they cheating on mama left and right, and she always crying, and they always fighting, even if daddy is there. So they learning, daddy a hoe, I can be a hoe. But I do think that a lot of the music, when kids are coming up, like music and media, that stuff is very powerful. And I'm sure that they won't ever have a rapper put out a song like Kanye got this song, how girls are such hoes, and he loves it. And I'm not going to use all the words that he says, but I bet you if somebody put out a rapper put out a video of a bunch of girls in thongs with herpes on their ass, and like people standing in the clinic line getting ready to, like, you know, get checkups for all the shit you can get for having sex, and then there's another line with a bunch of people pregnant in that motherfucker, right? Like all of these different things, that's the reality, but nobody pushes that shit, right? Nobody makes those kind of videos. So kids are thinking you just go out and have sex and have sex with your man, and you know, and when you're a girl, like if you need this attention because you ain't getting enough from daddy or the village or nobody else, guess what? I'm gonna go be such a good hoe like Kanye told me to be, because that's what men, they love it. They love it. They'll buy us trucks, they'll take care of us, they'll give us attention. So that's what you need. If you're the good girl, no guys are looking at you, and you know, so then you have this whole dynamic that's put into our youth hands. And so even if you have two parents in the home, you are fighting against the lot, right? Because you're not always there when your kids leave. So let's say you have a good home, you got the mom, you got the dad, everybody is working together. You can still end up with a 16-year-old that's pregnant, or they got to take you to the doctor because they got some discharge and they got an STD. That can still happen, because what's happening is, or they find out they're pregnant. because even though parents are in the home, when we send our kids off to these institutions, whether it be the school, they're constantly on social media. All these other things are spending way more hours in our children's mind than we are if we don't make the effort to be the main thing that they hear and their focus is more times out of the day. And you really can't do that when you go to work. You send your children to school. You're not always there to supervise them. And when kids are trying to figure out who they are, I think it's very detrimental when this type of music and these type of things are pumped into our communities, because it does help to, mold who they are by the pressure, the peer pressure that comes with everybody else who think these songs are okay, these images are okay, and this is what they need to be cool. So I think that's a big part of it too. You can have like I said, a household with two loving parents who do all of what we might consider the right things, whatever the fuck that is, because you never know what it's like raising kids. All kids is different. But I think that can still happen. So that's a big part of the problem too,
Michi,
our kids have more to lose. I didn't mean to cut you off, Dr. Martin, but our kids have more to lose. It's just like we talked about when, Cardi B and Nicki Minaj were fighting. Our kids are looking at that and they're like, this is how it's supposed to be. Even with the Drake scenario, I mean, if you look at what Drake was sleeping with, you like, man, you could have had pretty much anybody and that's what you chose. So it gives off the wrong impression. Drake had a whole lot to lose by fucking with this chick. But we got our kids, they don't have as much, and they got even more to lose than what a Drake does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, hold on. Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, I agree with you that we have more to lose. And I think also when you talk about parenting, we were talking earlier about good parenting. I'm a big believer that good parenting definitely comes down to making sure your child grows up understanding consequences, just consequences, that you give them consequences for their behavior as they evolve, and also you teach them about consequences for behavior when they become adults. So for example, I think the worst way to raise a child is to let them just do whatever they want and mess up whatever they want and harm people, do whatever they want to do, and have no consequences. Like when I look at the people that I grew up with who ended up the worst off, it would be because they grew up in a household where there was no consequences. They wrecked the car, their mama would buy them a new one. They go out and get arrested, somebody go and bail them out. They never felt the pain of their decisions, so they just made bad decisions. And also, I think in terms of teaching kids, it links back to like the sex thing and everything else. Like Michi, when you were talking about, like showing the consequences of sexual promiscuity, like just kind of what happens, like what's the other side of that? Let's really look at what it's like when you get, a horrible STD that never goes away. Let's look at what happens when you have a child with somebody who doesn't love the child and you got to raise the child by yourself. Let's think about all of that. So then at that point, you can still make your own decision, but you at least are aware of the consequences. And that's what I give my father credit for. My father was like you in the sense that he was very honest and realistic with me about everything. And so he would just drive me around and say, you see that guy over there who's with the liquor bottle in his hand on the ground? I went to high school with him. He was a football star and he got into drugs and blah, blah, blah. So as a kid, I'm naturally thinking, okay, well, I don't want to mess with drugs because I don't want to end up like that motherfucker. So I think that just teaching consequences can be really, really important. And I think in the music, the problem with the music and the media that black kids are getting is they don't show the consequences. They show, it's like me showing you how much fun it is to eat a chocolate cake, but never teaching you anything about obesity, diabetes, heart disease, all the things that will happen if you eat chocolate cake every day. In fact, the reason I'm disappointed in Kanye, and because I love that video you did on it, Michi. I'm disappointed in Kanye because he did that video with that guy. The artist is named Lil Pump. I love studying these little fucked up artists that are coming up saying all this ridiculous shit because I always like to read their bio and see like where they came from, how they got that way. And so Lil Pump was known for another song called Drug Addicts. And in the video, Charlie Sheen's in the video, and he talks about how much fun it is to take Molly every day and cocaine and ecstasy and pop pills and all of that. Like he literally talks about like how he loves getting high every day. And as a person who's lived through that, who's seen the results of that, it made me very sad for the young people who don't realize that you can't. It's hard to come back from an addiction to oxycodone. You don't come back from that shit most of the time. You don't come back from an addiction to meth and all that shit. You know, it ain't like, you know, I smoked weed in high school and I drank a little bit. Now I don't do it no more. No, your ass was hooked on fucking meth. You're done pretty much. Your brain is fried. So you're going through life with half a brain, you know, but the kids don't get that side. So they learn it the hard way. And I think Kanye, being 41 fucking years old, should know better and should be the one to say, "Nah, man, we can have fun, but we ain't got to do all this." I'm done talking. Thank y'all for letting me have a voice.
That's because his brain is already fried. We can't even look to Kanye. I know that he's got mental health issues, and I believe that drugs are part of it, but he's got way more than even just drug issues. We can't even depend on Kanye. But we do have your, you know, you still have your Lil Waynes and stuff like that come out talking about, you know, back in the day with sipping on syrup and all of that. And you look at them now, they're still making money and all that, but they are barely hanging on it.
Right. Lil
So,
Wayne, he about to die. If you just breathe on him, he gonna fall over. Lil Wayne look all jacked up. He is not that old, but the brother look jacked up. Like life has been hard on him. It's them drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this is what our kids think, you know. So, like I said, they don't show us the consequences, and not to. But that's the purpose. They don't want you to. They want you to see the good side, and that it's fun and it's cool. So then we can go out and create all of these single-family homes, all of these STDs. It's just a weapon against us. So not to turn this into a white supremacy conversation, but of course that's not the case. Like I said, I dare people all the time when I talk about music and media. Go find me any white songs or any other races that make those kind of songs, and that's what they predominantly talk about. You won't find no white song talking shit about white women, calling them hoes and how much they make. It's not going to be there because that's not the image they want to pump into those communities, right? They pump those things into our community because that's exactly what they want us. They want us to be the product of what those end results are. That's why they're not going to show you the end results, because the end results will keep you from doing those things, and they want us to very much do them, right? So, like, I feel like that's a big damn part of it. But like I said, you're not going to find that in no other neighborhoods. And not to say white kids don't have, you know, babies young or have some of those issues in their communities too, because we're not gonna act like white folks is all Christian, right? Like we got crackheads, they got meth heads, and they motherfucking okay. You know, we got roaches. Yes, they mamas is hoarders. They can't even get through their motherfucking house, and they sitting on stacks of paper and dirt straws from 10 days ago. Don't play. They live in households in trailer parks. We live in a project. The motherfuckers live in trailer parks. Don't let them lie to you. Or them is on welfare. You know what I'm saying? We got roaches. Niggas got birds, cats, 12 cats. Dogs, 6 turtles, and there's animal shit all over the place. Do not let them fool, right? They be sitting on used cat litter, money on the couch, drinking beer, and shit like, fuck out of here. So, you know, and the wife beater, that was a white man's shirt. Let's just be real. In movies, Burning Bad, it was always a white man beating the shit out of his wife on that shirt when he was beating her ass. It came from white men, right? So black men wear it all day. We call them wife beaters. Came from white folks. So I ain't gonna turn the conversation into that. Y'all can check me out Monday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern if y'all want to hear about that stuff. Y'all know I get started.
I wanted to say one little thing because I promised, sorry, Nikki, because I promised that I would to Jane. So Jane, she's like, well, what about this? What about that? Some of the stuff she's asked about, I've already decided before she ever said it that I was going to do videos on. But one of the things I did want to address, since we are talking about parenting, you know, I always say I'm working on my potty mouth because I know it's not very Christian-like, and in some churches. It is not always ladylike, but I fucking love it. I'm a fucking lady, and I'm gonna say what the fuck I want. So, as a Christian, I always tell you, I'm a Christian attorney. I was raised in a holiness church. I believe in Jesus Christ. Y'all can hate me if you want. It is what it is, and that's who I am. And, you know, at the end of this, if I end up in heaven, so be it. If I don't, it was a great run. So she said, what about, despite the criticisms about perpetuating racial oppression, do you think that the Black church was at least good for instilling family values into our grandparents and our parents? I would say yes and no. My problem is, nowadays, a lot of times what happened in the church was traditionalism. It wasn't necessarily grace and mercy, which kind of defeats the whole point of why Jesus was supposedly dying on the cross. I think that in my generation, looking at me, my sisters, my son, my grandson, I think that it did instill certain values. I don't agree with all the values that it did. And I think as far as oppression, not just oppression in the way that you would think about it, but also in the naivety, also in the, everybody I know that I went to church with, including every last one of my sisters. Everybody in my family, very well educated. We got doctors, we got, MBAs, we got engineers, we got PhDs, all of that in my brothers and sisters. But everybody on that first year of college got pregnant. Why? Because we weren't allowed to do anything, and because of the values that we did get when we were in church growing up, we never got the opportunity to experience anything, to do anything wrong, because that's how the church had us so, tightly under the rule of the church, and some of the church that we didn't get out. So was it good in some life skills and some things? Yes. In real life living, that's not always what you get in the church. That's a whole nother, yes, it's a double-edged sword. So that's a whole nother talk for another day, but I promise you, we'll talk about it. And if I see you, Jay, at the All Black National Convention next week, because I'll fly out in a couple of days, then we will have that conversation one-on-one. And if you all have not went to All Black National Convention.com, again, allblacknationalconvention.com, you're missing out, because these are the kind of conversations that we're going to have, and we're going to have in person, and we can network and come to, educated conclusions and make differences together at the All Black National Convention. And if you can't fly out to Philly next week for it, you can do it online. So go to allblacknationalconvention.com. You can get your virtual ticket and stream it straight to home. Just like you talking with us, watching us tonight, you can watch it live online in real time. So I hope that I'll either see you in person or that you're on, because if you don't, you're out. And another thing we don't want you to miss out on is Minty X. Every night from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, she be putting it down. Just like she's here tonight, and she's putting it down, she's putting it down there too. So y'all don't want to miss her. And the way that you can make sure that you don't miss her is text 31996. And what you put in the box, the text message part, is the word Queen. QUEENS. Queen, text Queen to 31996. And it's just not for the Queen, because we know we got the brothers on here that support, that are all up in here, always giving good love, and we love to have you all here as well. So I wanted to say that the new round, I see the comment. I'm on it. We'll get to that. It may not be tonight. I promise you we'll do a video and we will discuss it, because this is good stuff.
All right.
Well, I just want to say, I think we about to get out of here. Am I right? I just want to say I love all of y'all. Y'all know I'm about to throw it out here. One of y'all can probably finish my sentence. If y'all can't go to the National Convention, you can't afford to watch it online, y'all could do what? For free $99? You can subscribe to it. You can go over to Facebook. You can subscribe at FlyNovaQueen.com. I'm not as free. And you go get this content, right? So do that, because that don't cost you nothing, right? I know the folks out here is probably like, what kind of Michi is this? I'm a little bit more mellow. Y'all see, there's a lot of facets to me. And if y'all come to the All Black National Convention, y'all gonna see another facet of Michi, because I'm gonna do some spoken word. Y'all know nothing about that. So y'all come on out there and see, right? That's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's gonna be real cool. I can't wait. I'm really excited about it. Like the convention is the coolest thing about the All Black National Convention is that it's sponsored by Black people. Like, it's not, if you go to a lot of these other conventions, unfortunately, they're sponsored by McDonald's, Walmart, Coca-Cola. They're sponsored by the Democratic Party, stuff like that. And what happens is they can't really be honest, about racism or white supremacy. Also, the agenda is not usually one to build the Black community. It's to form these awkward partnerships, with the white community, to get white folks to kind of give us more jobs or stuff like that. And so, so that's the beauty of it. What makes me really proud of it is that, like, we pay for this ourselves. We're doing something that a lot of Black people believe that other Black people can't do. White people don't believe we can do it. We're doing this ourselves. We don't need nobody's bank loan. We don't need nobody's corporate sponsorship. We don't need nobody's nothing to get this done. And a lot of people come from all over the world. Like, we have people that fly from China, Africa, Australia, all around the world to be there. And I'm super proud of it, because it's going to be something we're going to be talking about 100 years from now. So this is Black history, so I appreciate you ladies for the fact that you've invited me in to hang out in your space. You know, I know when to step back when black women are talking, you know, but I'm honored that y'all let me come in here, and I'm also honored to partner with you both to change the world. So, and thank you to everybody who's watching. You know, this has really been a lot of fun.
We do this for y'all. So the fact that y'all on a Friday night are hanging out and we're getting good conversation, I love it. I love it. Every time I hit the button to go live, I get crunk. And so tonight is no different. So Michi does her show 8 to 9 o'clock. You can make sure that you get the notifications if you text the word Queen to 31996. You can also get the notifications for the new kid on the block. So I am doing topics on mostly legal stuff. You know, that's my thing. That's law, folks. That's my slogan. And so tonight we're gonna be a little bit late because I didn't want to cut this off. I love the conversation that we had tonight. And so stay tuned. So when we get off, give me about 2 minutes so I can run to the potty, and I'll be right back on. And tonight we're going to talk about a new legal issue. And so I hope to see y'all there. Make sure that you subscribe to FlyLucyandQueen.com, the website, so that you can see what's going on Facebook. And make sure that you subscribe on here. So if you haven't hit that little red button, hit the little red button so you're subscribed, and then hit the little bell next to it so you can get the notification. But even better than that is what? Queen to 31996. And I hope to see y'all at the All Black National Convention. Woo! Gonna be good. All right, y'all.
Have fun. I'm gonna get out of here before I get in trouble. But see y'all ladies later. Have a good night, everybody. Bye bye.
Have a good night.